Across the Park podcast is proud to be sponsored by Globe Gas and Heating. For the best kitchen and bathroom renovations, boiler servicing and repair, and central and underfloor heating in the Northwest, head over to globecentralheating.com and quote Across the Park for a free quote.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Across the Park podcast. I'm joined today by Hal. Hal, I'll allow you to, introduce yourself and your podcast before we go any further.
I'm Hal, co-host of the Sheffield Utd Way, multi-award winning audio podcast, and more importantly, YouTube channel.
Love it. And for all of our YouTube viewers and listeners, we will be tagging Sheffield Utd Way into our video. So if you want to go across to their channel, if we've got Sheffield United coming up in the future, or if you've got any Sheffield United fans who are relatives or friends, please push them their way. Hal, thanks a lot for joining us. Really appreciate it.
I was trying to think, actually, we probably have had some players on that have played for Everton as well. So if you don't want another hook to send people our way, yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, we absolutely have, yeah. In the recent past, John Lundstrom was across you guys, wasn't he, for a while? Phil Jagielka obviously was a huge player who's connected to, but Dominic Calvert-Lewin come from you guys in the first place as well.
Not that we've interviewed any of those, but we have had players on the channel that have played for Everton in the past.
That's superb,
Might be some toffees that are interested in reliving some of particularly the early noughties. I mean, not necessarily great times, but, we talk about Howard Kendall a lot, who is fondly remembered by both.
Absolutely. Yeah, how could I forget? Absolutely. And listen, that's a really good plug. To be fair, I think fans from both sides, I love listening to other fan channels because you do find some amazing content and great stories. They're so good, aren't they, when you catch the ex-players on a good day. But yeah, no, thanks for that, Hal. And just for any new viewers or new listeners, this is where we as Everton fans or our podcast speak to the opposition, get their take on how they're going and get their insight, which only they know, or certainly they can give us a better narrative on it. So without further ado, Hal, I think I'll say a belated congratulations and welcome back to the Premier League.
Yeah, it's been great.
No, in all seriousness, I mean, look, your opening results, they're not what you wanted. Certainly not what we wanted. I mean, first game of the season. Apology, you
Palace.
First one was Palace. I mean, that's the game for me that sticks out of the three that you would have hoped to have done better from. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, you look at Palace and then Forest and you think, well, on paper, if you're going to stay up, you've probably got to get maybe 4 points from those two games, just the same as Everton. We're in exactly the same boat of 0 points. However, Everton, unlike us, have not been letting shots rain on your goal. Everton actually, you'd expect this from a Sean Dyche side, a side that don't allow teams to pepper the goal. I've watched Everton's 2 home games on the box because my neighbour here is a massive Everton fan, and I kind of get all this nonsense about Everton I can't avoid it, and I'll always go around and watch them with him. So I feel like we're in exactly the same boat, but it's like watching completely different sides because we've allowed the most shots, 23 on average per game. I know it's only 3 games, but that's a lot. You've allowed, I think, the third least. So this is going to be an opportunity to see how two sides, one of which can't score, which is you guys, but doesn't allow chances the other way. And we have managed to grab a few goals, but we are allowing so many chances at the other end. So it's either going to be really open or really tight. And that's kind of what I've taken from the first 3 games.
No, fair play and brilliant insight from a statistical point of view. I certainly didn't realise that you conceded so many shots. And I think maybe the scoreline's kidding me because, obviously City, I think it's fair to say the scoreline in City flattered you. It was, as most teams do, you got completely dominated from start to finish. But at one point, it looked like you were going to steal a draw.
Yeah, I mean, even a blind squirrel finds a nut every now and again, and it felt a bit like that. We hadn't had a chance. 63 minutes into the game, we hadn't had a single chance. And then suddenly we managed to get an equaliser after City score. And by that point, City had an XG of 2.49. He tries to do from memory. And that's our home game. And we were just sitting back and trying to hit, as you do, against a team like City, on the counter.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be too discouraged by the City display. I think there'll be better teams, and that's no disrespect to you. I think there'll be better teams that'll be taken apart by City this year, without a doubt. I think just backtracking slightly and looking away from the data, I think any onlooker would have been looking closely, and they always do at the newly promoted teams in terms of the business they do. I mean, you look at Forest, obviously you played in your second game, the amount of players that they managed to bring in the first season, and people always look at that as, oh, what's going to happen there? Are they going to be able to bed them in? But conversely, you guys have not really brought in, I think, the quality or the quantity of players you would have expected or anyone would expect. And not only that, you've let the likes of Zanderberg and Dye, who was, two of your better players last season, go. What are the feelings amongst the Sheffield United fans in terms of how prepared you are to be in the Premier League?
I think we have brought in a lot of players. I'll dispute that. We've signed 9 players, all first team. There's only 11 that you can pick. So that's why we've looked so bad, because we haven't got cohesion. They haven't gelled. We're trying to squeeze these 9 in, and it's not working. I've never known a pre-season like it, to be honest, because we have to do a video every time we sign a new player. And so when I'm spending an hour and a half writing notes on a player like I've never heard of before, and then they have to be my mastermind subject within 2 hours, it's actually felt like a lot. And we haven't finished yet. There'll be more business done. We could end up having 11 new players by the close of the deadline.
Okay, well, apologies for I'll correct myself on that one. I'll rephrase the question. Do you think the quality is that you'd expect or require? I think that's my main.
Well, you are spot on with losing our 2 best players. Iliman and Dye going to Marseille is just a huge blow. And to be honest, so many of us are so deflated with that loss that a lot of us were thinking, like, if we go up and then we go down, we'll be in a great position to bounce straight back up again. We'll have the parachute payment money. We'll be able to keep some of our better players. We'll still have Iliman. And as long as we've still got Iliman, everything's great. And Everton have been linked with Iliman over the years. And he is a different player, and he's a creative player, and he can do anything. He can completely change a game. We don't have anyone else like him. And since he's gone, it's been significant how little we've created. That's the main concern for me, is we're just not creating chances. The goals we've scored, like against Forest, it's a screamer from Gustavo Hamer. That's not a training ground maneuver.
He's a good player, to be fair.
He is a good player. And he's been brought in as a box-to-box midfielder to try and bring in that creativity. Against City, it's a Jayden Bogle wonder strike, which, again, you can't rely on that.
You're not going to sustain that, are you? You're not going to sustain that.
Absolutely not. We're not creating chances that are like team goals. This is just, that goal against City, it comes from a slide tackle from another new signing, Vinny Souza. That's certainly not going to be how they planned it, how they drew it up. Yeah. So that's concerning for me. And losing Sander, a concern, but not a huge blow. Sander's so hot and cold, but Iliman was always good, and his class. And I personally think Iliman will go on to be, and you might laugh at this, I think he'll go on to be world class.
No, I don't laugh at that, to be fair. No, I don't.
Yeah, I've never seen a player that good at Bramall Lane probably since Kyle Walker. In terms of when we saw Kyle, we were all like, okay.
You knew he was going to,
He knew he was going to be good. We also thought Kyle Norton would go on. Harry Maguire looked very, very good. Gary Cahill looked very, very good when he played for us. Aaron Ramsdale didn't. So you just never know. And Dominic Calvert-Lewin, we never saw anywhere near enough of him to have a clue.
No, neither have we, to be fair. No, that's a fair point. And again, really good insight. And one of the main reasons why we do these shows, you could see things, and from the outside looking in, and without examining every single sign, and I didn't feel it at the time until you corrected me. You brought in the quantity.
Sorry, I don't want it to sound like that.
No, not at all. No, so not at all. I haven't examined all your business. I'm one of certainly
wish I had
the other teams.
It's been a lot of work. Look, well, just briefly then, we've brought in some players that are a mixed bag. They are almost all young, inexperienced, not the finished article by any means, raw from leagues that are not necessarily the top leagues in Europe. Like we bought the top scorer from Sweden, a guy called Benny Traore. And when I say I've never heard of these players before, I've never heard of these players before. But now if you ask me to do a spiel on all of them, because I've written at minimum 5 pages of notes on all of them, I absolutely can. Vinny Souza, guy we signed from Belgium, a team called Lamel. Who knows about him? Anis Ben Slimani. These aren't names that but also at the same time, exactly. But at the same time, I don't know how good they are. I don't know their ceiling because I haven't watched them for more than, in some cases, that max 3 games.
And listen, everyone's raving about the way that Brighton have gone about their business, and you can't say it's too dissimilar to that type of model. You buying
Spot on.
players that, again, have got a huge potential sell-on value. You know, Iliman Ndiaye is another example of that. And just to go back to Ndiaye briefly, I watched it. Was fortunate enough to watch a couple of your games live last season. I say fortunate because you played really well in the main, and you know, you did have some decent players. I seen 2 games completely opposing from Sanderberg, so I completely relate to what you're saying there. One game he ran the show, the next he was dragged off after an hour. But in Ndiaye on both occasions, what I did spot, and you can see that from a player that you're describing could potentially be world class, is there were moments in the game where you were maybe under the cosh, not really doing much. You'd knock a ball 60 yards down the pitch, and he'd make something out of nothing. He'd go and chase it down, he'd bully someone, he'd turn, he'd go in on goal. He'd do everything himself. And the last player I can remember us having who could do that, and it was a while back now, and I don't think he could actually do it himself now, is Romelu Lukaku. And we had Lukaku from Chelsea, and I was like, wow, he is going to be a top player, and he could do all of those things. And since then, which was 6 years ago, we still haven't replaced him. So I really do feel for you there, and I know it's tough to find a player like that who can do all of those things. And if you're a team like yourselves that are not maybe blessed with having the hundreds of millions, they're really hard to come by.
Yeah, you know, I didn't think you were going to say Alex and Yarko with that, but also the money side of things, right? So we didn't get the money for Iliman that we should have done because his contract was running out. So we haven't got the money to replace an irreplaceable player. So it's a double whammy. And, you know, he went to Marseille because he supports Marseille. I firmly believe if Barcelona, Real Madrid, Paris Saint-Germain, any Saudi club had come in for him, he'd have really gone, not sure about this. But it's only because it was Marseille. That's his boyhood club. That's who his dad supports. That's who he played youth football with. That's the team. Yeah. So you almost can't argue with that, although I would argue with that. And he shouldn't have done it.
Okay, well, again, going back to players that you have actually got, and looking forward to, I guess, the game at the weekend. You've spoke about the fact that shots have been raining on your goal. You obviously want to try and avoid that happening. How do you expect the manager to approach this game? Do you expect them to try and be more conservative, or are you thinking we're at home, we're against the team that are equally low on confidence? Is he going to go for it and stick with the way that, you know, you potentially expect at home?
It's a great question, because this is such an important game for us. Because looking at the fixtures we've got after this as well, I mean, it's a horrible run of games that we've got after this. You know, we had our easy games. There's no easy games, but we had our easier games, the first 2. And this is one of the games where, and this is no disrespect to Everton, I'm just talking because we're both on 0 points. So one of us has to pick up 3 points in this game. And I think whichever one does will kick on. If we lose this and then go into Tottenham away, and then we've got so many hard games coming up, you know, your West Hams, your Chelseas, your Newcastle, and I hate pluralizing, do that for a bit of fun. We're going to be in real trouble. So we have to come out of the blocks, either all guns blazing, get a goal, maybe get a second, and then relax the crowd. Or if we try and go for it and Everton hit us on the break and score, I can actually see the crowd getting deflated, and that negativity could spill over. And that's always a danger when you're at home. Definitely. You know, away fans normally will follow their side vocally, and no matter what, back them, particularly when you're an underdog. And in the Premier League, we'll have incredible support every single away game. Even if we're looking like we are down and out by January, we will still get full away allocation, or as I call it, allocation, every single away match. And we'll just keep singing. Now, at home, it's slightly different. And you know that as well as anyone. Everton fans know that. So this is going to be a huge game. I'd actually rather it was at Goodison if I was being picky. We've got a great record at Goodison, and you've got a decent record at Bramall Lane. And the fixtures between the two are almost always decided by 1 goal. And I think, honestly, this one will be as well. So it's going to be all about how we start. I'd love this to be 0-0, 20 minutes, and then we just start to go through the gears. And that's what I hope we'll do. And it's going to be patient build-up play. Nothing too silly, nothing too kamikaze. Just see what we can do, because I'm confident that if we score first, we can shut the door. But I equally think if Everton score first, they will shut the door, and that will be it. And we struggle to create. You're struggling to score. It's got 1-0 written all over it, right?
Well, yeah, I was just about to say that we're exactly the same. I think if you guys score first, we will struggle to break you down. We haven't got the creative flair in there. I think it doesn't matter. I mean, showing it last night against the bottom team in the Football League in Doncaster, I was there in the first 65 minutes was like pulling teeth. We could not get a shot in on their goal. I think we had 2 shots up to the 65th minute, which is dreadful. But the minute we did break them down, obviously, and it opens up a little bit, we were absolutely fine. But we're a team and a group of players that are extremely low on confidence, as you guys are. Just to touch briefly on last night, and I'm sorry about that. I mean, again, I'm trying not to be too close with the question. What were your hopes going into that game, and is it a bitterly disappointing loss, or do you see it as one less distraction?
Most Blades fans will say they don't care. I want to win every game. I think winning breeds confidence, and I'm a football fan who likes to win football matches. It's simple as that. We have, I think, the professionalism that you owe your fans is to turn up and give 100%, and we didn't. The first shot I recall from last night on target was in our penalty shootout. That is not good enough. And we were playing a very strong side. I looked at that side before the match and thought, we haven't picked a side as strong as this in the Premier League this season. And we just looked so devoid of energy, of athleticism, of fight, of desire, of grit, of resolve, of passion. Again, creativity was lacking. We had a debutant, because we've signed so many players, Cameron Archer making his first appearance. We spent a lot of money on him. And I saw nothing. That concerns me. I was hoping he's going to have a wonderful link up with Ollie McBurney. It didn't look it. It's one game. It's against Lincoln City. You can't read too much into it. Maybe the players went out with an attitude of, we don't need to get out of second gear. We'll beat these. Well, that didn't happen. And maybe they were going out with an attitude of, this isn't important. We need to get this distraction out of the way and concentrate on the league. But I thought it was really poor, and they owed the fans more than that. Apart from Ollie Norwood, maybe our new signing, Austin Trusty, he was all right. And some of our youngsters tried to make a case, but so many were off it. It was disappointing.
Yeah, you very rarely get anything less than that from Ollie Norwood, do you, to be fair? Just a couple of follow-up questions on last night and just in general as well. What was the manager's, I haven't seen it, what was the manager's response to
he hasn't come out. He's not said anything. He's actually put out, sometimes you know what this means. He's put out Stuart McCall, who you guys know, our assistant. He's put him out to face the press. Read into that what you will. Maybe it's just that it's a League Cup game and he's not taking it seriously. I remember when Slavisa Jokanovic was our manager, our only ever foreign manager, and he was, he had a cup of coffee managing us, and then he was gone. I remember he used to dress differently for cup games, which he would wear a suit for a league game and relaxed clothes. Yeah, I wouldn't quite go as far as a tracksuit. He's a very stylish man, but he would wear like a sort of a jumper, chinos, and a polo, cashmere jumper or something, and you think, okay. Loafers, that sends out a message, doesn't it? It's just a small thing, but it says something to everyone that I'm treating this differently, so you can as well.
Yeah, it does, and maybe the suggestion that Stuart McCall was allowed to almost run proceedings last night. It's like, look, you have your chance to work with the players. I can step back and observe, and look, if he stepped back, the suggestion would be if he stepped back and observed, he's learned a lot more maybe from the game than he would have done if he was in the mix. But the second question, and this is just coming from knowing a few Blades fans as well. What's the situation and what's the feeling around Ollie McBurney? Because I know at the start of last season, and he had a really barren run, didn't he? And he kind of came back into the team, scored a few important goals. Where does he sit at the moment in terms of the pecking order?
Probably first choice striker. We love him now. He just was brilliant last season. He was joint top scorer last season. He was joint top scorer when we finished 9th in the Premier League in season 19-20. When he's on it, he's great. It's the off the field stuff you worry about with Ollie, and that we tend to back him when you can because he's ours. I can imagine if he's not your player, you probably look at him and go, "Oh, he's an oik." I think if you get to speak to him, get to hear him speak as well, because I don't know him, but I've heard him speak. I've heard lots of anecdotes about him as well that paint him in a very good light. So he also does a lot of voluntary work as well. He does. I was going to say that does a lot for the community. Does a lot for the community, and then that side doesn't get told a lot. And I heard a great story about him the other day where our former goalkeeper asked him to book a restaurant in his hometown. So this is Ollie's hometown. And he said, just book it. You know it really well. Can you just book it for me? And this keeper, Simon Moore, arrives. Ollie's booked it. And as soon as he arrives, they go, Mr. McBurney's taking care of it, So that's a sign of the guy, that A, he's nice, and B, he's got a lot of cash.
Fair enough. No, so again, pushing on with the game in terms of previewing more of what we expect. Is he going to lead the line for you guys? Is it Is it a 4-2-3-1 you've been going with, or is he gone? Do you think you'll maybe go with 2 up top?
He sort of mixed it up with the formations. I would expect it to be sort of it would look when it starts like a 5-3-2, and then in game it might shift. I think it might go Traore and Archer maybe. McBurney could be involved at some stage. I mean, he could start over Traore, could start over Archer. We'll see what Heck he goes with. And it's very, very hard to predict Paul Heckingbottom. And we just don't know with the new signings who's going to be fit as well. You know, as I speak to you, Luke Thomas has just joined us as a on loan season left wing back. Will he play? We've got 3 left wing backs out injured, leaving us only with 2 more, because you need 5 left wing backs at every club.
Of course, of course.
And Jaden Bogle's just come back. Will he play? Will George Baldock play? Will George Baldock have been distracted by the links with, is it AEK or AEK Athens?
AEK Athens, yeah.
AEK Athens, so they've been strongly linked with him, and I think if they'd actually won their Champions League qualifier,
I was going to say,
we could have been talking more seriously about that. And then Austin Trusty, he plays well, the American, got a lot of goals last season from set pieces for Birmingham City. Does he play? But Jack Robinson, former Liverpool player, he's been our best defender. And Ahmed Hodzic, one of our better players, was left out. That implies that he's going to play. John Egan's had a really poor start to the season, but he's our captain. So he'll probably play, because if he doesn't play, who else can in his position? It's midfield as well, like Ollie Norwood, but he's played every minute of like every game. He's now made the most appearances for us in the Premier League of all time. But he played against Lincoln just a few days ago. Can he do it again? He's not getting any younger. And Slimani's just come back from injury, a new signing. We haven't really seen any of him. Souza, he was left out, so you think he'll play. It's going to be really tricky. Hamer, he didn't feature against Lincoln as he was cup-tied, having played for Coventry against Wimbledon, so you'd expect him to play. But there are options, and there were so many youngsters that played that maybe 1 or 2 of them impressed Hecky or McCall enough to feature in this game. I genuinely wouldn't like to predict the 11. It would be very, very difficult.
Wow. So again, your prediction in terms of the 11 is you can't predict it, but you expect that maybe you'll try and keep it cagey for the first 20 minutes and then hopefully try and come out the traps.
And a goal will have to come from something special or a set piece. I just don't. I think
or a mistake.
Yeah, and that's actually what's cost us this season. We've made a mistake in every game, and it's cost us a goal, and that's the Premier League. Yeah,
likewise. And I think from our point of view, it's the opposite really. We haven't really got that many options. I mean, our new signing Beto come in last night, and he looks night and day compared to what we've seen in the last few years in terms of people who've tried to deputise or replace Calvert-Lewin. He looks like a proper centre forward. He'll run the lines. He'll jump for anything. I think, to be fair, you look at him and think he wouldn't share a game in the Championship. He really looks like he loves a physical battle, which I don't think will be a problem for you guys. The Bosnian guy, I couldn't pronounce his name.
Just call him Manel.
Yeah, he's so dominant in the air from when I've seen him in the games that you played last season and in both boxes. And I think I expect him to get some goals this season. The games I've seen him last season, he could have got a hat-trick in one of them. He seems to get on the end of everything in the opposing.
Well, we had him on the channel. We interviewed him and we asked him, remember he's a centre-back. We said, who's your idol? And he said, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Go figure.
But listen, you can see he's got that self-confidence as well, though, can't you? Yeah. He's definitely not short of that. But I think that'll be an interesting battle if they both play, because I think they'll both relish that. But that's probably going to give us an extra dimension that we haven't had in the first few games. And from my point of view, thinking about certainly assessing your comments and the statistics, if we do get chances and they fall to him, I would fancy him to score. But the problem is it's only really him that I fancy to score. There's no one else in that team who is likely to get you goals, barring maybe Tarky if he gets on the end of a set piece. James Tarkowski. Yeah. But we are really, lacking in terms of goals. Dan Juma's obviously got one last night, but he's been very indifferent. Very, similar in the sense that a Sanderberg, where he can produce a bit of magic, but then he goes missing for the next 20 minutes, or he gives the ball away 3 or 4 times on the bounce. And it's just quite a frustrating player to watch. But I think he will be in from the start on Saturday, simply because of the fact that he and Beto were the only ones who scored for us so far this season. But I think from us, it'll definitely be a 4-2-3-1. The back four, I'm hoping, will be Tarkowski, Brandthwaite centre-back. The right back is a little bit of a doubt because Nathan Patterson, our young Scottish fullback, who's not been fit really since he came to the club, has got some fitness but has completely lost his form altogether. He got dragged off at half-time last night and was dreadful. James Garner went in at right back. He was the lad who won the Euros with the 21s and played at right back for them. He played very well at right back, but he's been our best midfielder. So we'd be borrowing Peter to pay Paul, if you like. Left back will be Ashley Young. Midfielders will probably, just based on availability, be Guy, Anana and Decore. And then you'll probably see Danjuma alongside, or Danjuma one side of Beto, and tough to pick the other player up there because we're missing the likes of Iwobi, we're missing McNeil. Lewis Dobbin, a young winger, has come in and has struggled somewhat in terms of quality. He may turn to him again. If not, the options are fairly limited in terms of the other players to come in that position. But what you're going to get is exactly what you've described from a Dyche team. We'll try and make ourselves hard to beat. I think we'll try and wait for you guys to open up and hit you on the break. And again, I think we will try and rely on the set plays, which I'm not necessarily feeling is an area that we can exploit against you guys that we may think we can do against other teams.
Yeah, it's going to be, I think, not one for the neutral.
No, I wouldn't think so, unless the neutral likes to see a lot of tackles, yellow cards, and mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. And the referee that we've got as well is one that I wouldn't say he's card happy, but it's Andy. Is it Madley or Madeley? I'm not quite sure.
Madley, yeah.
Madley, right? So yeah, last season, 35 games, 120 yellows, 5 reds, 3 of which were second yellows. But he doesn't give penalties, so he only gave 6 in 34 games.
We don't get penalties anyway. So
no, we don't either. And when we do, we miss them. So it wouldn't really make any difference anyway. We get them given against us. That's definitely something that happens. Okay,
we'll see. We'll keep an eye on that one. But listen, I really appreciate unbelievable insight in terms of statistical and obviously correcting some of my myth that you hadn't brought in a lot of players. You've obviously brought in a lot of players indeed. But
more to come. More to come.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, I'll say best of luck for the season, not best of luck for this weekend, but enjoy the game nonetheless. I won't be there on Saturday. I couldn't get a ticket for love nor money. Again, like you said, very much like your away support, our fans are extremely passionate. Well,
can I just jump in on that? That this is two proper football clubs, and I think it's really important to say this is 2 real football fans, real clubs that deserve to be in the Premier League. 2 founding members of the Premier League. Of course, Everton never get relegated, but this is a club that Sheffield United have a lot of affinity with, and we've got a lot of connections going back. There's very few clubs where we've had so many players that have played for both. We've got manager affinity as well. I think the fans are from similar backgrounds, similar cities. They know what they like. 100%. We like similar kind of players. And I think if we weren't playing against each other, we'd both want each other to do well. And I will also wish you well for the season. And I never say that about any other team, but I like Everton.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, mate. And that was my at the start saying congratulations and welcome back to the Premier League. This is where your club, your fans, your people belong. Hopefully Wednesday don't come with you, but yeah, if you can stay up there. But no, I completely agree with that, Hal. And again, the feelings mutual in terms of well wishes. But look, thanks again for joining us. Thanks for joining our channel. Thanks again for your incredible insight. Best of luck bedding in them new signings. Hopefully it comes after Saturday. And I'm sure we'll catch you for the away leg, if you like, next time round.
Anytime. Cheers.
Top man. Cheers, Al.